All right, wine number 4. Say that again. We're going to pronounce that wrong.
Yeah.
Principia. I believe it's pronounced Principia. At least that's how I've heard Bill pronounce it. So, in some far gone century, I'm a little too buzzed to probably remember which century. A guy named Isaac Newton published a book called the Principia Mathematica. It was a seminal publication on gravity and physics.
You didn't have to do that. Sorry, go ahead.
And anyway, so basically, this wine is basically an a tribute to Isaac Newton and the earth-changing view that the Principia Mathematica did on science in those days.
That's cool.
I'm an engineer. I think Dan's an engineer.
Chance working in engineering field.
Chance is working in engineering field. So I love the label. Dan has taken pictures on the label, so it's basically changes each year. Last year it was Newton's gravitational. I believe now this is just basically the force equation. It's pretty heady stuff on the label, but I also think it's pretty heady stuff in the glass. So
yeah, and for those of us that work with it and have been exposed to it, there's some aesthetic appeal to having that on the bottle too.
yeah, I think it's a conversation starter, among friends who'd be over for dinner.
Purple drink.
Yeah, we're starting to move into very, very dark, very, very full and lush fruit on the palate, on the nose here. It's very aromatic, very forward.
Cherries and blackberries all over the place again.
Now, this is 100% Syrah, this one, from vineyards that I'm personally a big fan of. Porteous, Lake Colleen, Lewis. Lewis is a big Syrah vineyard that I'm fond of. So
Washington nerds, get in there. Do you care about those vineyards? Do you know what they are? Comment. I want to hear that. They're kind of new to me. He's excited about it. I want to hear more opinions.
Yeah. So 100% Syrah, going more for the pure varietal expression, and just black fruit all the way through the nose.
It's like black fruit, but like I got this distinctly last time. It's like when I was young, I went to school at a place at an elementary school, and they refinished the entire playground in fresh blacktop. And blacktop, the smell of fresh, like not cement, but wet, like blacktop.
Asphalt.
Has a very distinct smell, like that tarry aroma is in this, along with the black fruit.
It's dark.
Yeah, totally.
Just heavy.
I thought you were going to tell me they served wine in elementary
school.
school.
No, I wish they did. Probably would have changed my life. I'd be a winemaker right now.
Getting some nice herbal thing on the nose too. It's good complexity, right? Again, the nose is drawing you in, make you think about it. Good fruit, good structural components.
Yeah.
Smells fantastic.
Even entry on the palate. You can tell the fruit's big, but the structure doesn't come in and sock you right away. There's it kind of leaves space for some good evolution. I'm getting, again, like I've been saying, really cherries and blackberries, but this is fruit that all kind of comes together. Similar style in a lot of the wines, so he's going for this deep, dark fruit profile that still has some good juice. And I really like how the acidity plays in here. A little bit of mouth-watering that's already integrated really well, surprisingly well with the fruit for as young as the wine is. Really feeling that.
Earlier, it exhibited what I had felt of it the first time I tried last year's release. It was just this literal silk sheets of tannin, no rough edges around it, smooth tannins enveloped in like almost a boysenberry jam. And now that it's getting a little bit of air, it's getting a little bit more of those nuances that come from the Syrah grapes. The tar that you guys both mentioned, some of the earthy truffle characteristics. But it's still one of those things.
Damp earth.
This isn't the kind of wine you're going to swallow and all of a sudden you're going to feel your jaw going into lockjaw. This is a nice, easy drinking wine.
Absolutely, and so accessible for its youth. I mean, the tannins here are, I think we talked about it earlier, and how Scott just brought it up, like very, very refined feel to them. Like soft, very gentle, just dusty. not even chalky to the point where they're like, they can feel like a coarseness. Like this is just, you feel them there and they're drying, but there's not any like, they're so soft. I don't even know how to describe the feel. A silk sheet, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm feeling a little more
wine.
firmness to them. Like I get a silky thing. Like when you hear me talk, I guess this is getting used to individual vocabularies too. When I say silk, a lot of times I associate that with the tannic feel that I get out of certain Pinot Noirs. I wouldn't go here with this. On the same hand, I'm enormously impressed how you're getting the feeling of full tannic structure without it being harsh at all.
At all.
Like it's really elegant, really refined. Like what year is this again? Yeah, 2008.
These are all 2008s.
Yeah, and I would guess that this was even a little older.
Well, and as I told you, the 07 spent 23 months in barrel, and as they watched the 08 evolve, they were intending to release it around, a 2-year barrel program, and it wasn't ready. So this actually got an extra 7 months in barrel over the 07. This was in, I believe, 30 months in barrel. So, just that additional oak time and barrel time, I think, really calmed this down and helped it.
Not a whole bunch of oak coming through on this.
No.
Yeah, the oak usage is really well done here.
And huge respect to RaSa for doing this, because for a new winery, that's not an easy decision, right? Like to sit on a wine that you could be selling in barrel, for months more to get it to the place you want it to be. That, again, that's like a very intentional commitment to quality at a very like definite expense, and it shows. It comes through. It's really good. I'm feeling it, and I'm getting like some really great earth flavors that are somewhat unique. Like I like Washington Syrah in general, and this is delivering good fruit flavors and that touch of something special that really makes wine interesting. That really makes it a conversation piece for me.
What earthy flavors are you talking about? Like mushroomy sort of?
Well, not so much
mushroomy.
mushroomy. Again, more like it's more like dry earth, and it's kind of like a mix between black and red. But it really sits on my palate, and it gets me thinking, and it's something that kind of like adds depth and complexity to the fruit. And of course you get caught up in the romance of wine, right? You're like the idea of terroir, the idea of sense of place, and you're imagining, right, this hot earth in Washington that this wine is grown in, and it all kind of ties together, and like where the line between the imagination and the real flavor experience is drawn. It starts to blur, and I don't even really know where that is at this point. I just know that I like it. It's capturing my imagination. 93 points. I'm really feeling it.
I think Dan laid it all out. 93 points for me as well. The complexity is obvious. There's really nothing else. There's nothing bad to say about it, honestly. Like the structure is so well done. The fruit is delicious. It was drinking great on a pop and pour. It's drinking great now. Let it sit, let it, drink it, whatever. I'm at a loss for words. It's very, very good.
Yeah.
Just leave it at that.
It's one of my favorite wines in Washington State.
It's very good.
I think it's between this and the next wine we're going to taste, you start to split hairs of, what's his best work to date. It really also comes into, are you a Syrah fan or a Cab variety or a Bordeaux varietal fan? But I'm right in there with the 93 points. It's a beautiful wine.
And again, I want to talk about this. We talk to Oregon drinkers, Pinot Noir drinkers a lot, Riesling fans. Like, these are big wines, both in structure and in alcohol. We've been at them for a while, so we're a little bit desensitized to the heat that comes with these wines. It's definitely there. I don't think it's destructive. I think the wines are enjoyable with that. But I want to make a point, of saying that it's definitely in there. If you're super sensitive to that, or if you are if you have trouble with big red wines, don't delude yourself to thinking that these are not light, right?
No.
By anybody's imagination. They do what they do and they do it well.
Absolutely. Do it.
No. I'm going to be able to hold this episode against you for a long time.
You are. This is going to be bad.
You guys are going to have to quit and go to work for Nike now.
No.
Oh.
Actually, I do like Nike. Alright.
Chaz has a long way to drive tonight.
Yeah. I'm gonna take a nap. I'm gonna take a nap later, so we'll be all right. So, another 2008 RaSa wine. This is their
Creative Impulse.
Creative Impulse. Yeah, cool label. I mean, yeah, sort of a distinct label too.
Yeah,
kind
of particle collider type.
I like it.
Yeah, I love all their labels.
It's a modern version of the light bulb turning on, right?
Yeah,
that's the idea. That's the idea.
So the Creative Impulse, the big thing about this one, when they moved to the Northwest and started scouting vineyards to pull fruit from until they got their estate vineyard planted, they knew they wanted to eventually make a Bordeaux blend. Started looking at the various sources of Cab and Merlot and Cab Franc, etc. And a lot of the roads, a lot of the wines they tasted, all led to the De Breuil vineyard. So the story I hear is that that Bill called up Dr. Shields, said, "Here, you got some great fruit. I want to buy it." And the guy essentially laughed. There's pretty much a waiting list for De Breuil fruit. You know, wineries such as Owen Rowe and others, you know, all use De Breuil fruit. So Bill made a visit up there, talked to him, tasted through a lot of De Breuil vineyard wines, and next thing you knew, Bill had an allocation of a little bit of Cab and a little bit of Merlot, just enough to set the course in motion. So this is a low-case production wine, but as me and a couple friends sampled it in barrels, it was clear that this was going to be a wine that was going to be a showstopper. And once he started blending the individual components into the Creative Impulse, we've all been fans ever since. Very low oak profile on it, if I recall. Just a fantastic wine.
Is this the first vintage you did of it?
This is the very first Creative Impulse.
All right.
I believe he has other Bordeaux, you know, makings in the works. You know, maybe kind of like a right bank versus left bank style.
Okay.
Awesome. This being very much more a left bank styled wine with the Cab Sauv predominant. What I like about it, you're not sticking it to your nose and getting, you know, the typical, oh, we got Cab Sauv, we got to throw it in 200% new oak and choke it down.
No, the fruit is definitely predominant here.
You're definitely getting the blackberries on stems, right? You're getting a little bit of the blackberry stems,
Stem inclusion,
fresh, like great Oregon blackberries, right? Yeah, a little bit of the herbal component in with the dark fruit.
But leaning towards that, like we're starting to hit the tobacco pretty strongly, right? Like a little bit of green pepper, but
totally,
like very strongly piped tobacco, cherry tobacco sort of thing going on in the nose. It's just
tobacco and green pepper is what I'm getting right now.
And what do you? Yeah, just give our audience idea. Like, out of what you collect, are you predominantly leaning more towards Syrah or more towards like Bordeaux blends?
I lean more towards the Rhone varietals. I find I like Grenache quite a bit, Syrahs quite a bit,
right.
And, you know, the blends obviously. But you know, I have a huge, you know, liking of the Cab and the Bordeaux varietals too. So yeah, it's really, I think that's what we all love about wine is the unique nature of each one, and
there's so much variety.
Yeah.
It's like there's so much variety.
And we're going to run with that a little further for some people in our audience that watch us. And again, like, we're big Pinot Noir, we're big Riesling guys. Scott's palate's a little different. Where does Pinot Noir come up a little short? And I want you to answer this. So some of you that are watching might be like, that makes sense to me. I get that, and that Chaz and I will never be able to speak to, but that's where his palate kind of is has some unique information that we wanted to bring to the show.
I don't know whether it's unique information. My personal experience is I moved to the Northwest, and you know, you get on the ground and everyone starts talking about how great Pinot Noir is, and so I started tasting through various Pinots, and I just never got moved. You know, everyone always talks about those wines that move them. And there were no Pinots that moved me, and you know, maybe I didn't have a Pinot mentor, for lack of a better term. I've told Chaz maybe I need him to be my mentor.
And we're trying. And I will help. We're going to work on
it. But you know, I also don't want to invest too heavily in that course, because that eventually leads to Burgundy, and I refuse to acknowledge there's anything such as Burgundy.
Oh, you'll get there.
But
the road ends.
You know. I think with Pinot, I'm not looking for a Pinot to be a Syrah. I'm not looking for those Pinots out of California that people love to hate on, that are like, you know, you're just basically throwing oak and extraction at this and being a Syrah wannabe. I just want a wine that speaks to me with complexity and enjoyability. And as I've started having friends introduce me to other Pinots, I'm getting that now. and you know, I'm willing to say, hey, I actually like a little Pinot. Is it a substantial part of the wine I buy? No, not yet, because you know, there's wines like these and German Rieslings and Sauterne and Champagne that, you know, I guess unfair to compare to white wines to red wines, but you know,
no, but this is what speaks to you, right?
Yeah, it's what speaks to you.
Yeah, and then that's your palate.
All right, it smells killer. Let's drink this.
Wow, I like this a lot more now than I did before, and I liked it before, but it was definitely more firm earlier, and now that these integrated tannins, like we were talking about in the previous wine, are making a showing again. The Cabernet flavors we were talking about, the blackberries, the stems, a little bit of tobacco are really settling in on the palate and lasting for a long time, very evenly after you swallow.
Yeah.
One thing I really like is when wine is able to pull off like a very, very long finish and evolve through that finish. Like you swallow this wine, whereas most wine, most utilitarian $10, $12 bottles, whatever, will when you swallow them, the flavor is gone or the flavor lasts for a few seconds afterwards. This, I swallow it and I'm just starting to taste the flavors that are then about to evolve over the next 20 to 30 seconds on the palate. Substantially. I mean, like not like it's not there and you're getting a little bit of flavor. Like this is like it's still on your tongue. It's crazy.
To put words in your mouth, I think what you're trying to say is a lot of wine is one-dimensional,
right?
And this has multi-dimensions as it evolves in your mouth, and that's again what I've loved
to see.
What I've loved about all the RaSa wines. You know, as I said, QED was the first one that did it for me. Principia and now Creative. They're hedonistic in the terms of you can enjoy them on, you know, for what they are, but they're intellectual from the terms that you can enjoy the multifaceted aspect of them. And had the great opportunity to enjoy a bottle of this over a ribeye steak a couple months ago, and you know, 3 hours, got some steak, you got some killer cap. This wine just does not shut down. I mean, it is just it's like a laser sight on a rifle type thing, and it's so fun to watch.
And another one that, like Dan pointed this out earlier, like this has evolved and it has changed with air. So another, I think with all of these from the Mourvedre up, decant them, because and then seriously take a sip. You know, even if you're gonna let it sit there for 4 hours before your friends get there, take a sip here and there, because this is gonna change substantially over the time. It's been open for about, what, 2-3 hours at this point. So, yeah, fantastic. Wow.
Good acidity, even tannins again.
Yep.
Man,
I feel on the palate.
I really like what they're doing with their tannins. They're present, but they're not aggressive and disruptive at all. And for wines of this size, that's pretty rare. I mean, I'll say that that's something that Walla Walla does pretty well in general, I think. I like that as a culture in that area, that the tannins aren't quite as aggressive as either California or French regions.
But I'll go so far to say a lot of the wines I've had from Walla Walla, the tannins aren't as aggressive, but the wines aren't as complex either.
Fair enough.
You know, there's some great winemakers in Walla Walla, and they're doing some great things. You know, RaSa isn't the only one, but you know, I think the ones that really set themselves apart are the ones that are looking at the best vineyard fruits, the best vineyard management, and then taking that great fruit into the winery and treating it with the care it deserves to turn out the best wines, and you know, versus just a commodity.
Definitely. So where do I go with this? I'm gonna go back down to 91. While I like it, there's a lot of good things going on. I think it's really well put together. It's just not capturing my imagination like the last wine did. But still rock solid. And for those of you who prefer Cab Sauv flavors more than Syrah, you're going to like this a lot more than I did.
I don't know. I'm finding a lot more complexity in this, and it's captivating me pretty well. I'm actually finding this a bit better than I did the first time I tasted it.
All right.
Like, I've got not only the black fruits that you find in Cabernet and the plumminess, but like some nectarines, some red apple flavors that like the tannins are almost picking up like an apple skin sort of thing for me. It's really weird. The acidity is coming off almost like a little bit of like red citrus on the finish with tobacco and damp earth. I mean, and with the length that we're talking about here, there is heat, right? I mean, we're talking a little bit on the finish, but man, this is such a big wine that it trumps that, and it's very linear through the finish, through a long finish. 93 plus for me. Awesome.
Wow.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Would purchase this at the price point. So it's delicious.
What is that? Well, let's give you a review first. We'll do price points.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I love it. I'm probably right in the 92 plus range, and I'm throwing the plus on it because I think it's a solid 92-ish wine now, you know, in terms of what it is. I personally think this wine has better days ahead of it. You know, it's been in the bottle a couple of years. It's just been released in the last couple months. I really think I want to revisit this wine in say 2 years' time and see where it's at, because I'm still drinking some of my 03, 04 de Bourreau Vineyard wines out of my cellar. They're shining, you know, just spot on, and I think this has the potential to really integrate even more.
Nice. All right, so do you remember price points offhand?
You know, I don't remember exactly on them, but you know, the Principia is roughly around 75, if I recall. The Creative Impulse around 85, QED 45. I want to say the Vox Populi is right around 40, 45, and I believe
that's awesome.
I believe the Lyricist is right around 26 or so.
Yeah, upper 20. Yeah, that's for the Composer.
And worth checking out. Like,
so.
if you're not going to get any of those, I mean, the Lyricist is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's really good wine.
And people stretch. People are like, oh, Riesling costs over $20. Like, yeah, Riesling costs over $20, and it's worth it.
You know, my barometer for wine is I look at a bottle and say there's 5 to 6 glasses of wine in a bottle.
Yeah.
So at $26, that's $5 a glass. You aren't going to go to a restaurant and buy a $5 glass of wine better than that Lyricist. You know,
I can promise you that.
Exactly. So, you know, is it you know, $2 chuck? No, but is it a stellar bottle of wine that is priced better than you're going to get on most wine lists in a restaurant? Absolutely.
And that you'll thoroughly enjoy the whole time you're drinking it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Question of the day time.
Question of the day. I decided to mix it up a little bit. I'm actually not a sports fan. I don't watch much sports on
TV.
Not
really either. Yeah.
But I heard this question posed once, and I've always liked it. There's, if I remember right, and I may be off, but I believe there are 8 professional sports teams between football, baseball, and basketball whose name of the sports team does not end in the letter S. What are those 8 teams?
Sports trivia that none of us will be able to answer.
Wow.
Who of you out there are sports nerds?
So yeah, I mean, obviously Google or Yahoo will help you solve this real fast. Yeah. But, you know, I'll give you an example. Utah Jazz doesn't end in S.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, figure out the other
There's
7.
always like Trailblazers and Kings and all those. Yeah, they always end in S. Yeah, good. I never thought of that. Anyway. Not much of a sports fan, so.
So, yeah, drink more wine, you'll figure it out.
Thanks for watching. See you next week.
Take care.
Thanks.